Hey, what's up everybody? Onepeg here. So, we have a patch. As of about 5 minutes ago, SDF ended up releasing a bunch of patch notes, and I figure it makes sense to go through them. Okay, and I didn't really modify this scene, so forgive me, and for those of you wondering why all of this is set up like this, I have joined a group of people that are raising money for St. Jude Children's Hospital, like I typically do. That QR code down in the corner is for Tiltify. You can donate $1 if you want to. We're trying to do it kind of like a buck at a time in hopes that a big team of us, including Dr. Lupo and Ames and Triple G and Gino and Mr. Gibbon, a whole bunch of my friends, we're all trying to raise money just like a couple of bucks at a time over the course of the year. You know, every little bit counts kind of thing, just to see if, you know, we could help out a little bit over the course of the year. Anyway, on to the patch notes. So SDF had a whole bunch of bug fixes and whatnot. TLDR, there's a lot of nerfs. Very small, like minor buffs, but mostly nerfs across the board, and Sorcerer kind of got hit pretty hard. The major big stuff is you can no longer bunny hop. They added protection to prevent hot swapping of weapons, so you can't do the instant hot swap stuff anymore. Adjusted the armor rating curve to give slightly more PDR at the upper end. Flattened the PDB curve at the upper end, physical damage bonus. Updated the magical damage bonus curve so it now matches the PDB curve, and Arena's Dark Swarm now has 75% healing reduction. So as I mentioned in the last video with the Q&A stuff, or Dark Swarm, people were just kind of like sitting in Dark Swarm for the duration, both in the dungeon when the circle would close, as well as on Arena. The easiest way to, I guess, get Arena rank up was to sit in the Dark Swarm if you were a healer and just kind of heal yourself and wait for the other people to die to it. This also prevents swarm ratting, which was a really common practice for anybody that had heals, is you would kind of avoid everyone else and just chill in the swarm and heal yourself. I personally didn't really mind doing that. It was a good way to just farm up cash so that you could go and like fight people for real. But it seems as though SDF has different ideas, and you're not going to be able to do that anymore on the high roller side, but we'll get to that in a minute. Reckless attack armor penetration changed from 85% to 75%. That's the only real nerf that we've seen directly for Barb, but there are some weapon nerfs too. Wizard's Ignite duration changed from 15 to 8 seconds. Haste went from 8 to 6 seconds. Chain Lightning's attribute ratio got buffed to 100%, so now Chain Lightning does 25% more damage. Zap's bonus got increased by 25%, and Explosion's bonus got increased by 25%. So Wizard saw some love on the magic damage front. Cleric. Bless went from 30 seconds to 8. Protection went from 20 seconds to 6. Divine Strike went from 20 seconds to 6. So this is a massive nerf to Cleric and Cleric-backed teams that were doing a lot of like Buffball related stuff. Accelerando went from 8 to 6 seconds. Allegro 8 to 6 seconds. Rousing Rhythms went from 30-60-120 to 61-22-40, as well as Harmonic Shield. This goes in line with the changes that they made to the Bard's self buffs, so now they're all kind of on the same timer again, which is interesting. Harmonic Shield can now only be used as a self-target, though, so no more giving Harmonic Shield to your friends, which is crazy. That basically means that Rousing Rhythms is really the only, like, quote-unquote group buff that you're really giving people for duration, and then obviously Accelerando and Allegro, but now there's such short duration, you're really going to have to weave those as a Bard. It's making Bard make more decisions than they had to in the past, which is, again, pretty interesting. Warlock, Curse of Pain, instant damage back to 100% again. Darkness Shards can only stack up to 2, each giving 25% dark magical damage bonus. So now instead of Darkness Shards doing 10% per shard up to 50%, they're now doing 25% times 2. This also means, though, that you're not going to get the plus all of the 5+ all anymore. You're only going to get +2 all. In Demon form, the bonus to dark magical damage per Darkness Shard is changed to 25%. So this is, again, a kind of a sort of faster way for Demon form to gain an advantage from the Darkness Shard thing, but is an overall nerf to the plus all stats. Druid, Tree of Life's health bonus changed from 40 to 20, and all attribute bonuses changed from 5 to 3, and the duration went from 10 to 8 seconds. So Tree of Life, again, it looks like they're making wide swathing nerfs to the Buffball comp idea. Tree of Life was 40 recoverable health. Now it's being changed to 20. All that's going to 3. It's a pretty substantial nerf to Tree of Life. I still don't think this takes Tree of Life out. And really the strength for like a backline druid using Tree of Life was always like the heals over time, just stacking them up. And then you would kind of put a Tree of Life on, you know, your frontline fighter, barb, whatever, and see what it can do. The theme here is Buffball is getting reduced. Water Bolt, damage changed from 20 to 15 for Sorcerer. Wind Blast, range changed from 7 to 4 meters. Stone Skin, movement speed penalty changed from 10 to -5, which is good for Stone Skin. Fire Arrow damage went from 10 to 8. Flame Strike lost 5 points of damage. Fire Orb lost 5 points of damage on the hit. And the Splash lost 5 points of damage to 10. Earth Elemental lost 1 point of necessary memory cap and was changed to 6 tier instead of 7. The HP for Earth and Lava Elemental was increased by 50, so instead of them dying in like 1 hit, they're going to die in 2. Electric Dash landing damage got buffed by 5 points of damage, but that thing is kind of hard to land. Flamethrower damage went from 10 to 20. Flamethrower was a waste of time, but the damage on this being doubled might actually make it kind of badass now. Mud Shield duration changed from 8 seconds to 4. Thorn of Earth damage went up 5 points. I still don't know if anybody's going to use Thorn of Earth, but 5 more points of damage is kind of cool, I guess. It's now possible to receive 1 to 2 primary attributes when socketing a diamond. Now, I don't know if this means that the system is identifying what a primary attribute is, or if this means 1 to 2 all. I'm not really sure what that means. But if this means 1 to 2 primary attributes, I don't know if that's all primary or if that's like whatever the primary attribute for the class is as determined by your base stats. I don't know. Physical damage bonus and magical damage bonus that can be obtained through random modifiers have been reduced. So they're reducing overall damage output, like base damage output, for just about everyone, it looks like. Trying to offset like dying quick. It kind of seems. The damage ratio for each section of the rapier has been changed. Rondel Dagger's primary attacks. Okay, so now they're going through like each one of the different weapons that they've modified. So the Rondel Dagger attacks 3 and 4 went from, they lost 5% of their damage. Castian Dagger attack 3 went from 1.3 to 1.4. Gained 10%. Chris Dagger, attack 3 and 4, went from 0.15 to 0.110, so it lost 5%. Lantern Shield's counterattack damage multiplier changed from 1.25 to 1.15, so they're reducing the riposte of Lantern Shield. Bardish, attack 2, gained 10%. Halberd attack 2 gained 10%. Warmaul's attack 2 and 3 lost 5%. Warmaul's secondary attack, so the right click, the first hit of the right click, gained 10%. And the Windlass Crossbow weapon damage was reduced by 4 and armor pen went down 5%. Trying to nerf the Windlass a little bit, which I think makes sense, if I'm being honest. Okay, Arena Test Season 2 is scheduled to end March 10th. That's in 2 days. You can now preview, so the end of this weekend, Arena's over. You can now preview which items are available under the same package on the shop page. I'm not exactly sure what this means. Like when you click on an item, it'll show you an item preview. Maybe that's what that means. Added report accuracy. Displays data of the number of successful reports vans in the UI. Please note that the data displayed here is for testing purposes, and the finalized system may display different data. Added an Arena Recent Matches feature. Added new modules to Crypts and Ruins. Added a dual boss indicator. You can check if a boss is dead or not using the boss indicator. So that's cool. Added a new druid spell, Orb of Nature. So now druids have 10 spells. If you wanted 10 spells, there you go. Added 6 new perks for Sorcerer. Merged Might, Innate Talent, Elemental Fury, Mana Flow, Lightning Mastery, and Air Mastery. Now obviously I'll go and test those and I'll let you know what we think. Added 4 new spells for Sorcerer. Aqua Prison, Frost Breath, Plasma Blast, and Frost Lightning. Improved the visibility of players affected by the Cleric's Divine Strike buff, which previously obstructed too much of the screen. So that's okay. So the particle effect for Divine Strike is getting reduced so that you can see better. Improved the Lich's summoning animation by displaying an intuitive red shield to indicate the invincibility state. So while the Lich is summoning, like while it's summoning its skeletons, it's going to have a red aura around it now to tell you that, you know, he can't be harmed until he gets the stuff summoned. Improved excessively dark areas in the dungeons overall. Improved the background of the Goblin Cave rope exit. Improved some props in the dungeons that were obstructing gameplay or needed visual improvements. All right, and then we have the changes to High Roller. Changed High Roller. Fog of War removed. Portals randomized, Dark Swarm added, and some fixed escape and down props deactivated. We're not going to have Fog of War in High Roller, okay? The portals, though, are going to be random, and the Dark Swarm being added is a whole thing, and some fixed and escape down portals deactivated. So I'm also wondering whether or not with this Fog of War change, how that's going to end up affecting like Frost Cavern, because Frost Caverns, the down portal to go to Ice Abyss has always been, you know, the floor, right? Like falling into the pit. So does that mean that the pit is not going to be the pit anymore and that's just going to be a death pit? And then we're going to have random reds? Or are you supposed to like try and just run your ass off like through the garbage in order to be able to get to the pit and get out? Because that's going to have an effect on people's ability to be able to farm AP, right? Because the easiest way to farm AP, you got to go down through the levels because it's 100 points every time you take a portal. So that is a question that is going to need to get answered. The Fog of War being removed because they're re-adding the BR circle, I don't think is a bad thing. I think that's fine. It would have been a problem if it was Fog of War and the Dark Swarm. Ruins down through Crypts and into Inferno, through all of those modules are all random on the Inferno side. So being able to see them all and how they've interlinked each other is good. Being able to see like where the boss room I think will be good, because you need to be able to play around the BR circle and where that's going to end up and everything. So it's going to change how the whole game is played. And then with the 75% reduction in healing, no one's going to be able to hang out in the circle. So it's going to force people into having to fight each other unless people are able to make a beeline to like blue door exits. Also, that makes me wonder for like Ice Abyss and Frost Cavern, like what the portals are going to look like for the blue stuff, because that was always gates. There's never been random portals in Frost Cavern. They modified it when Frost Cavern came in. We'll see how that goes. Ruins is also a random dungeon, and Goblin Cave is now a random dungeon. So those having Fog of War in normals and the old system versus the newer one, they're like two completely different game modes now. It's pretty interesting. They did say that they're looking to make a modification for surviving the much more brutal HR dungeons. They're going to make a reward change, meaning that they're going to need to make it more lucrative, I think. Our internal capacity has limits in finding the correct balance for the new HR, and our goal is to fine-tune it along with the hardcore community, etc., etc., etc. It looks like we're going to be guinea pigs yet again. Now, for those of you that are saying, like, well, why aren't they using test servers? I agree with you. It's a good idea. However, historically, people just go there to see, like, whatever the new hotness is. They don't actually, like, hang out in the test server to test stuff. And we don't have a super huge community like World of Warcraft players playing on the PTR or whatever, where you would see just, thousands of people logging in every day. In this case, there's, 15, 20,000 people concurrent, give or take the time of day, that are logging in just to play the game in general on live. And with that many people, those people, we are all testers, and that's what they're using us for. So they're expecting feedback and for us to be able to tell them like what works and what doesn't. But they also said that they're going to have a much more streamlined and higher communicative state or whatever. So hopefully their turnaround time on the suggestions that we're making and the feedback that they're seeing ends up being faster rather than slower, and we'll see some updates to this as it goes on. Anyway, so moving forward, I guess I will be checking out the patch once it's in. I'm assuming that this is a long one. I didn't even look to see how long this is going to take. 3 hours, so not that bad. It started about 20 minutes ago. So we got about 2.5 hours as of the recording of this video before that's up. I'll go through and I'll check out all the sorcerer changes and give you guys an idea of what I think. We'll make some recordings and I'll upload that for a later on thing for you guys tonight. Thank you guys so much for lending me your eyeballs, and I will see you in the next video. All right? Peace.